This video is sponsored by NordVPN.
These two phones go about presenting a great Android experience in a very different way. One uses brute force, highly strung performance components, and just more of everything. And the other relies on smarts, cloud processing, and builds quality in a way you might not expect should you only look at a spec sheet. Like apples and oranges, the OnePlus 15 and Pixel 10 Pro XL are very different flavors. So let's talk about that. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas, and in many ways, these two phones are extremely close and wildly different at the same time. They're both massive, sit either side of $1,000 US, run Android 16, have triple cameras on the back, and are their respective companies' best efforts at delivering the best experience. They're flagship models. Yet one packs the spec sheet and the other wants you to know just how smart it is. And here's the thing, I think both are elite at what they do, but there is a clear winner, so let's dig into that after a quick word from today's sponsor.
One of the most convenient and handy inventions of the last few years is certainly a VPN, and that's where this video's sponsor NordVPN comes in. Not only does this service help you browse anonymously, tunneling your network traffic through another region which helps secure your connection, but it's also just really handy for watching programs, movies and sports that you just wouldn't get in your home version of Netflix, for example. Or if, like me, you're a diehard Premier League fanatic and you go on holiday, being able to log into your streaming services just as you normally would without a fuss is brilliant, and NordVPN allows you to do that. It works on Mac, Windows, iOS and our beloved Android. It's easy to install and get set up. If you go to nordvpn.com/androidpolice, you'll get up to 77% off a 2-year plan and 4 months extra for free. So check that link out in the video description, and a big thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring today's content.
Let's first address the elephant in the room, the performance delta, at least on paper. Whilst Google's Tensor G5 is still a ways off its main competition, from even like a generation ago to be honest, the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 you'll find in the OnePlus 15 sits right at the top of the performance rankings. Is this something you'll notice day to day? Doom scrolling, multitasking, watching content, even playing most games? Not really. Even as someone who reviews phones for a living and checks out basically everything that comes out, these models just don't feel that different day to day, or at least not as much as the numbers would suggest. Now, if you're a hardcore gamer or for some reason have 9 hours of screen time per day, then sure, the OnePlus 15's extra horsepower will come in handy, especially if you play Genshin Impact, because the Tensor G5 situation with that game is just kind of murky. The OnePlus 15 is the faster and more capable phone from a speed point of view, but much like the difference between 300 horsepower and 500 horsepower on the road, there are few places that you would actually be able to make most out of that power. So for those of you who really push your phones to their limits, you play the hardest of 3D games, you even run benchmarks for fun, the OnePlus is clearly the winner. But for 95% of people, perhaps even more than that, you probably will never feel the performance delta. The screen is actually going to make more of a difference here. Now, despite the on-paper specs, once again, there is a clear winner, and that is actually the Google Pixel. In HDR content, which is pretty rare, the OnePlus pulled ahead with a brighter panel, although it isn't tuned particularly well, but in SDR and basically everything else, the Pixel's extra brightness massively helps it feel like a better screen. In my opinion, it's also tuned nicer as well, so you get more punch, more vibrance in the default modes out of the box, and that makes it just more enjoyable. Watching content, playing games, the Pixel 10 Pro XL's panel is perhaps the best screen on a phone, one of the best at the very least, and it's not the end of the world for OnePlus here. The screen is still very good, it's just not at the level. There are a couple of benefits to going with the 15 actually. Its refresh rate can step up to 165Hz from 120 that both of these phones normally run at when you run particular games. Now the games list is very small and quite niche, so you won't really feel this extra refresh rate day to day, but if you do particularly main these games, maybe this is for you. Both in-display fingerprint scanners are absolutely rapid, very reliable. The punch holes are practically indistinguishable in size, but the OnePlus 15's smaller bezels just help the phone feel more upmarket and quite a bit newer. And I'd actually probably say that about the rest of the phone's design. Above the Pixel's IP68, OnePlus adds IP69K. It also has a customizable action button style thing on the side, which the Pixel just does not have. And though both have a sort of matte texture on the back, the OnePlus 15's is particularly grippy, which is something I personally appreciate. Battery life is just not much of a competition here. The OnePlus 15's 7300 mAh battery smokes the Pixel's 5200 setup, and whilst the latter can be a 2-day phone for the right person, the OnePlus can actually be a 3-day phone for the right person, so it's just a level above the Pixel. Both are going to get most people through a full day absolutely no problem. You might even end up the next day with like 50% left, but it's really going to depend on who's using the phone. Now, if we switch to charging, OnePlus's 120 watt wired and 50 watt wireless setup just destroys the already fairly capable 45 watt wired and 25 watt wireless of the Pixel. The OnePlus is just way faster to charge, there's just no two ways around it, and since it already has a bigger battery, that's just really impressive. For most people, those who are just going to charge their phone on their nightstand, speed is not going to matter, and so maybe you just will not feel the difference here. But if you forget to charge your phone and need to top it up quickly in the morning, the OnePlus is going to deliver more screen time per minute connected to the wall. And I would say that the Pixel Pro XL's battery life is very good. It's good enough. It's just that OnePlus takes things to another level. So if you're sweating games on your phone, or you want to charge your phone 2 or 3 times a week instead of 5, OnePlus gives you that with the 15. But where the Pixel reels the OnePlus back in is in its cameras. Now, I understand that not everyone is going to require elite level cameras in their phones, but to my eyes, the Pixel takes this crown quite comfortably actually. Generally speaking, I found its photos to look more like what I saw with my eyes, a staple Pixel trait. It didn't seem to matter which lens I was using, there was always a level of continuity and consistency, at least more so than the unfortunately downgraded setup in the OnePlus 15 compared to its predecessor. The Pixel obviously benefits from Google's world-class computational photography pipeline, but since it also packs in bigger sensors across the board, it can capture more light information across its sensors, and don't get me wrong, the OnePlus 15 can take good photos sometimes, and maybe you'll find that there's actually a couple of shots you prefer from the OnePlus, but I feel like those are few and far between. And OnePlus will have to do some serious work in its processing to come close to matching the Pixel, particularly in its long-range zoom capabilities, where I think both are trying to do this sort of AI zoom thing where they send their blurry images into a prompt and then basically shoot out a high-res, high-detail photo at the end of it at sort of 100 times zoom or around there. But I think that the OnePlus just falls so far short and spits out hilariously bad results sometimes, where at the same time Google is taking those same kind of prompts and spitting out almost uncannily accurate photos. Now, I'm not an AI fan, so neither are to my personal taste, but that doesn't stop me admitting that Google clearly has OnePlus's number here, and it's maybe also worth saying that Google has everyone's number here. Like, its 100 times zoom is way better than everything else on the market at the moment. And as much as the Ultra HD 4K 120 and the 8K 30 with log are fantastic in the OnePlus, I think Google's standard Ultra HD 60 looks better in my eyes, and the 8K video boost is on another level. It is the best looking non-professional video from a smartphone at the moment. And speaking of processing, the software here is very different. Whilst OnePlus's Oxygen OS 16 is generally improved from its predecessor with a more sophisticated buttons-up layout, and its AI smarts are nicely presented in the settings menu, much like how Samsung does it with One UI, it just cannot match the Pixel's OS in a few key areas. Firstly, the Pixel gets an extra 3 years of software updates, which is massive. It also feels like it matches the aesthetic of the hardware quite a bit better than what OnePlus is doing, and it feels smarter without trying too hard. The Pixel Screenshots app, Pixel Studio, AdMe, ProRes Zoom, Video Boost, the Photos Suite, Gemini, they all feel like they were designed with this hardware in mind, and make the phone as a whole just feel smarter from the ground up. I think Oxygen OS is very decent this year, but Pixel experience is on another level. Overall, these two phones offer two very different kinds of people. The Pixel 10 Pro XL is like Google's version of the iPhone, built for everyone, really well-rounded experience, is built for that experience and not to smash benchmark leaderboards, whereas the OnePlus 15 is instead built for a small subset of people who want the very best performance and battery life they can get in North America. People who don't care about cameras, don't care about AI, or software smarts. The OnePlus 15 is built for hardcore enthusiasts. That's the difference. As total packages, Google's $1199 Pixel 10 Pro XL is better, but if you're just after those particular performance qualities, you really cannot go wrong with the $999 OnePlus 15. This one's going to be divisive, so let me know which of these two phones you would have in the comments section, and whilst you're down there, be sure to hit like if you enjoyed today's content and subscribe to never miss another upload. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been Ryan Thomas, and I will catch you later. Cheers.